don't underestimate your warm network. And what I mean by that is your friends, your loved ones, your colleagues, those people that know you as a person. And the reason why I say that is because even though they may not need your service directly, they know people and they know thousands of other people that will need your service. And that's basically how I was able to book a lot of meetings right out the gate. Because, and don't get me wrong, cold calling, that's awesome. I'm never going to be against cold calling and things like that, because that's basically the lifeblood of the business. But getting right out of the gate to really establish momentum and kind of prevent that doubt creeping into your mind of, man, I shouldn't have started this. Utilize your warm network. I'm telling you, it's probably one of the most overlooked aspects.
We are live for another episode of Agency Growth Engine, and I'm excited for today. We have Michael Hudson from the Hudson Media Group, and you're in for a treat. This young man has all the stuff put together. He's launched a marketing agency and is already doing a tremendous job getting started, and I'm excited to dig in to that today. But before we get started on that, I need you to go do something for me. Give me a thumbs up or give me some kind of review or anything like that. Any kind of interaction with the content really, really helps us. So please just take 5 seconds, go do that. It really helps us. All right, Michael, thank you so much for coming on today. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your agency?
Hey, thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, so we are a creative agency. So basically, we specialize in doing online video and social media management. So we'll do any type of video, talking head, video ads, product reviews, whatever. Majority of our clients do a lot of the talking head videos. And we specialize in the real estate and mortgage industry right now.
Ooh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I have some. Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of people that do opposite end of what you do in that space. So that's really cool. So tell us how you got started. That's the number one question that I get all the time is how did you start? I try to share my story as much as possible, but I'm a little bit older. I'm a little bit more removed from it. So I'd love to know, when did you start? And then like tactically, how did you start your agency?
Yeah, so started the agency last June, actually. So we're like hitting month 6, but I've always just been involved in, social media and marketing. I've been involved in the industry for about 4 or 5 years now. I was an actor in Hollywood, so I had a lot of experience in front of the camera.
Wow.
Did some TV shows, a couple of movies and things like that. And I've just always been involved with just creative things. And it got to a point where I was working for an insurance agency doing a lot of their marketing campaigns and handling like 12 or 13 brands. And I just kind of felt there was like a ceiling, and I just wanted to be able to just have the freedom to do whatever I wanted. And I kind of sensed that there was a need for developing content through social media. So turned in my 2 weeks, decided to start the agency. And
when was that? When did you turn in your 2 weeks? 6 months ago?
About 6 months ago. Yeah.
So earlier this year, you said, "Hey, I quit. Here's my 2 week notice." Yeah. Did you have any clients when you did that?
I did not. No. It was a risk, man. But it was one of those things that I prayed about it pretty much, because I pray about every big decision I make, and I had the support of my wife and things like that. And so I just hit the ground running, and because I had a lot of business contacts starting out, it was pretty easy to basically spread the word that I was starting this agency and getting my first few clients.
So that's actually what I was going to ask you next is, how did you get your first client?
First client. So, like I said, I've always been involved in creative stuff. So I was already creating content, for YouTube, and shooting a lot of different types of video. So a lot of my friends were already they pretty much knew what I was doing already. They already knew that I was a pretty creative guy, and I loved doing video and things like that. And so my very first client I got, he's actually outside the real estate and mortgage industry. He's a general contractor. He was looking to beef up some of his social media, but the trust was already there because he had already been following me on a lot of the social media platforms. So that's how I got my first client. And then from him, it was basically just word of mouth to his friends and loved ones of people who knew or who needed the service as well. So that's how I was able to get.
So how long was it from the day you started your agency to the day you started getting revenue?
Oh man, I would say for the moment I started, it was like 3 weeks.
Pretty fast. And I'll be honest with you, I started the same exact way. I quit my job.
Yeah.
I I prayed about it too. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Right. And just, I felt good about it. It was crazy from the outside looking in. It looked nuts. Quit my job and started going out and just door knocking. And I was doing email marketing, and it was a lot of pressure. Like there was a lot of pressure to just get that first sales call. And I think if I would have kept my job and then tried to do it on the side, I don't know if it would have ever worked, because the comfortable salary really was nice, right? Like it made me
Yeah.
comfortable, and losing that was all the motivation I needed.
Oh, totally get that, man. Because you get a little complacent a little bit when you get a little taste of that, corporate life money, and you're just like, I don't really need to hustle too much. But once that's gone, the alarms go off. Oh, what did you do before the agency?
So I did a little bit of everything. The job I had right before that was a textile company, and the job before that I did mortgages, or actually I did insurance right before that. I did mortgages before that, and I did a little bit of everything. There was a couple other jobs I had in there, but really what I found was I reached a certain age, and I realized this about myself. I was quitting a job every single year. Like every year I was cycling a new job because I get bored with it. And it was like, okay, I see kind of the roof here, and what's something else I can do? And I thought it was that I was kind of chasing money a little bit. Like I was just like, okay, I can level up to 60,000 here, or I can go to 70,000 here. And that was part of it, right? Like I was trying to level up, but really what it was I was just bored out of my mind. And I realized as soon as I became an entrepreneur, like, oh, okay, I need something all the time that it's constantly changing. I can be having new challenges, new things in front of me. And it's part of my personality. It's like I have to keep growing something. If I'm not growing something, anytime I start to maintain something, I'm sick and tired of it, and I don't want to do it anymore.
Right there with you, man.
Yeah. So okay. So where do you see right now? You have two team members. Where are you? Are you feeling any friction inside of your agency right now? Or are you still kind of flying high on momentum?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I would say, yeah, it's a little bit 50-50, just because, I call it my warm network, people that I know already, that's still going pretty well as far as momentum, because again, I was creating content for about 2 or 3 years already. So a lot of people are familiar with my work, and they're familiar. We have great relationships. So there's still a lot of people out there that want to do the service. But I think some of the friction right now is being able to just, if that dries up, like being able to get colder clients into the agency. So I'm trying to work on creating some systems in place right now to take care of that.
Are you getting your clients into recurring monthly revenue, or are they kind of more project based?
A great question. So yeah, so there was two that were project based. So those are kind of like one-offs. But the majority of my clients right now are monthly retainers.
Good.
And then but the way we set it up is that we can have like a paid in full and then a monthly option. So it's really up to them if which path they want to take.
So you're paid in full. Is it like a year? Did they pay, or how does that work?
We have a 3 month and a 6 month
Perfect.
option.
That's really, really smart. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I learned that I always tell everybody is that you want to always get to that monthly recurring revenue, because that's the foundation to make it so you don't have to sell all the time. If all you're doing is selling videos, or you're selling a one-off product and you're just getting that sale, that's awesome. Even if it's a big sale, it's awesome. But then you have to sell again the next week. So to kind of relieve that pressure of selling all the time, if you get people into that recurring revenue, then you have that base, you pay your bills with that, and then now you can work on operations, you can work on some other things, and then come back to sales. It really, really helps, and it really is the backbone of business. So what's your next thing that you're going to be focusing on inside your business? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it operations, retention? Where are you kind of looking at?
Yeah, so I would say next, as far as like our organizations, is basically getting that system in place as far as outreach goes. Because I don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours of my own personal time cold calling, cold emailing, and things like that. So probably hire a couple of VAs to take care of that and set appointments, get some appointment setters, take care of that, and then also being able to further my knowledge in the paid ads, because I would like to pivot towards that. Right now with the
paid ads for a service, or paid ads for you as an agency to get more customers?
Paid ads for a service, yeah.
Cool.
So
Okay.
whether it would be starting another umbrella or a branch under the umbrella of what we're doing
Mm-hmm.
now. Just because I think, well, just in my opinion, with the market right now, real estate and mortgage market being down a lot, don't really want to spend too much on advertising campaigns. And I think once the market gets back up and I want to get the inflow of leads coming in, I think that'd be a viable option. So
Yeah, I really that's a really good call out. And what are you seeing right now in the real estate market as far as it? Obviously, it's slowed down. Interest rates have gone up. Houses aren't turning as fast. That lowers the overall money that's cycling through the industry. What are you seeing from the clients that you're working with?
yeah, so a lot of them, the ones that, at least that I'm working with, obviously it's a lot slower than when it was a year ago. But I think the thing that they understand is that when they create content, especially the content that we help them create, it's allowing them to basically stay in the minds of people. So, whether they're talking about giving a mortgage update, a real estate market update, or they're just sharing their personal journey of how they got into the business, I think all that content, in a sense, really stays in the back of the mind of clients. So once the market comes back up, they're going to remember them. Because I think a lot of people in their position as well that are not creating content, they basically disappear and they're nowhere to be found once once the market comes back.
Yeah, you can't remember them, right? Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's really setting, more so than anything, it's setting the table for the future, so everybody remembers your face in your local area, right?
Exactly, because usually, typical marketing takes for cold people, it takes about 20 touches to basically have them make a decision.
Well, even outside of that, you have all these people, all these clients that you've already helped. They're all following you on social media. And I think what a lot of times what people miss is that top of mind awareness in marketing. So top of mind awareness is, why does Pepsi every year sponsor the Super Bowl halftime show, even though everybody in the whole world knows who Pepsi is? Why do they do that every single year? They do it because when you're walking down the aisle and you go, what kind of soda should I get? Should I get the Pepsi or should I get the one for 25 cents less, the Shasta Cola? You still get the Pepsi because of that top of mind awareness, that brand awareness. And social media really allows you to do that at a high level. You do have to create good creatives, right? You have to create the creatives to stay in front of the people, but you can stay in front of people outside of the creatives once that's created for relatively cheap. And that's something that's really new to the marketing world, that you don't have to be a Pepsi to have that top of mind awareness. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, that's part of our pitch when we talk to agents, because obviously, especially right now, their biggest thing is keeping their marketing budget under a tight ship, right? So
yeah,
when they hear separating from the pack by creating content that will help it be memorable to other people, they really appreciate that. So
that's awesome. Now, what's your day-to-day look like right now? So you're starting an agency, you have 2 team members, you're probably doing your CEO, chief everything officer, right? So walk me through how you're splitting up your time and how you're actually making this work for your agency.
Yeah, so on a typical day, wake up early. I try to get up like around 5:30 or 6, say a prayer, and then go work out, get the body moving, just so I'm top peak position throughout the whole day. And then usually I like to do a lot of my prospecting at the top of the morning. So whether it be tapping into my warm network, sending out the text to some people, letting them know what I'm doing now, to like doing cold calls. I'll do that for the first hour and a half. From there, because that's like the thing I hate most. So I'd rather get that out of the way first.
It's the hardest thing. It's the thing most people don't like to do, and you to get it out of the way. And it's also the most valuable thing probably for your business to grow as well.
Yeah. So, and then from there, I kind of create momentum, and I start, whether it be doing some service delivery, because there's still, right now, I still edit some of the videos. I still take care of that. So it's doing service delivery stuff, giving updates to current clients, basically tell them, giving them some analytical reports on some of the social media stuff. And then if I'm needed to go shoot a client, I basically prepare and go there. I usually block out 2 hours to do that. And then by the end of the day, I come back, do a little bit more prospecting or attend a networking event of some sort, and then spend the rest of the time with my wife.
Okay, so answer this. So right now where you're at with the agency, are you back to what you were making before you quit your job, or did you have to take a pay cut to get to where you're at, like as of today?
As of today, it is more than what I was doing.
So this is so awesome. Okay, I want to call this out. 6 months, you had to take a huge risk, but it took 6 months to earn more than you have now. And now the sky's the limit, right? In your
Yeah.
brain,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Huge. Yeah. Oh, huge. Yeah. So that was the goal coming out, and I didn't think I'd hit it this quick. So it's pretty good, man.
It doesn't take much. I mean, a couple of clients paying you $3,000-$4,000 a month, you can keep, if you're doing the bulk of the work, you can keep a lot of that, and then you start hiring some VAs and building out a team. Now, here's the tricky part. Then you have to kind of gamble it all, take a little bit of a pay cut, and then hire that next person, because
Yeah.
you'll reach a bottleneck, right? You'll be like, I can't do any more work. And there's several stages, because this is the part that drove me nuts. Banks won't give you money early on. Like they're not going to just hand you tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what you have to do is you have to get creative and risky. And what I did a couple times is I took payroll on a credit card. I leveraged, took out mortgages, did different things like that early on, because no one would give me money. And it was just like, oh, I have to keep growing. And you hire that next person. But usually in my experience, I want to bet on myself, right? Like if it comes down to betting on myself or betting on someone else, I'm going to bet on myself. So so far it's paid dividends for you.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. It's great, and yeah, that's funny that you said that last part, betting on yourself, is because, yeah, I just made a YouTube video about trying ways to fund like an online business, and the last thing was self-funding your venture, and I think yeah, betting on yourself is like a whole psychological thing where it really not only puts pressure on you, but also it's kind of like a sense of pride of being like, hey, this is my belief in myself that I'm willing to put in the dollars to do it. So. I did have a question for you. As
Yeah.
far who was when you ran your agency, who was your first hire? Was it like was it like a CFO? Was it like
No. Okay. That's a really good question. So
yeah,
if the first person I hired was back then VAs weren't really as much of a thing in 2008. So it was a person though that entered in all the emails for our email marketing. So a lot of the manual labor, and then it was someone to design the emails and like do all the like
okay,
design work and all that kind of stuff. So if I was in your position, the
interesting,
first
yeah,
thing I would hire out is the video editors. Yeah.
yeah,
Video editors would be first.
I did that like month two. I
Yep.
yeah, done it
So then
month two.
from there, next would be project managers.
Okay, so meaning people that take on every individual client or like a bulk of clients or
No, so right now you're probably the account manager in the sales department, right?
right, yeah,
Okay, so account manager and sales department, that's where the bulk of your money is going to be made. And the reason that you're making that's so valuable is because account manager prevents churn,
mm-hmm.
and sales brings in new money. So one stops money from leaving and the other one brings money in, right? And
Okay,
that's literally how you grow. You have to do that for right now. Like you have to, because you have to learn it and you have to mold it and you have to all the nuances of it. Well, the thing that's going to pull you away from doing that is all the administrative systems in between those two things, in between sales and churn. There's leaky holes everywhere because you don't have systems yet, right? You are the system, right? So you're going through and you're kind of doing things day to day, but it's not being documented and thought through from an angle of somebody who's not doing it. And so what a project manager will do is they'll come in and they'll support you, and you can hire virtual VAs to do this as well. So you don't have to pay $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for the first person. And you want to bring them in and you want them to help you start building out these systems. So that way, when you say, hey, I'm not going to do this internal thing anymore, and I'm going to hire this other person to do it, you have the systems all built out already.
oh, okay, interesting. Okay.
So it's kind of a little bit of
Good to know.
counterintuitive, because a project manager at first is like, do I really want to hire somebody? Because they're actually not doing anything initially, right? They're not selling an account. They're not editing a video. They're not managing an account. But what they're going to do is they're going to build the infrastructure for you. So when you bring somebody in, you're flying really fast, rather than what I did. Here's how I did it. I hired people, brought them in, had no systems, and then everything crumbled. And then I'd have to start over, train the next person, no systems, crumble. So once I learned, okay, I actually have to build systems for people to come into, that changed everything for me.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, when you did that, I mean, obviously there's a trust issue, right? So it's kind of like, how were you able to separate the two and be like, okay, I'm going to give you like this responsibility while I focus on,
Yeah.
other
So
things.
the first thing is the systems help that. So if the reason that we lack trust is usually because we lack clarity. So if I can't,
Okay.
let's pretend you and I are working together. if I'm not going to trust you if I can't see what's going on, but if I can see how many sales calls you're making and see how many, outreaches you're doing and how many closes you get, my trust level goes up for you instantly because it's like, oh, he's working, right? So that those systems really help with that, to be able to see what's going on. But then from there, I would say I use the 80% rule. So if I can get somebody who's 80% as good as me, they'll usually end up being better than me overall at that particular thing. And here's why. I'll use sales inside your company. Right now, you're doing sales, but then you're running to account management, then you're running to video editing. So if you can get one person to just come in and do video editing, they're probably, even though you're a really good video editor, they're probably going to be able to do it better than you, even if they're only 80% skill of you, because they're not divided over all of the whole company. They're just solo focused. So, but it does, there is a mindset shift that you have to have. And really what it boils down to is you have to be willing to let people fail and learn and grow and not demand perfection. Because early on, when you start, it's all about, I got to get this right. The client's going to get mad. But then what it kind of bends to and what it creates is like, we're all learning and growing. We're all going to fail. Let's work together, fail forward and keep growing. And people then end up trusting you. You trust them. It really becomes a win-win situation.
Got it. Wow. That's amazing, man. Thank you.
Okay, so a couple more questions for you. Tell me where you think your agency is going to be like 4 months, 4 months from now. Like, what are you kind of seeing panning out?
Well, 4 months from now, I would love to have, that first person hired that you just suggested. So having that in place, and then having the kind of like that appointment setter system in place, and then also I want to be able to hire a couple more people, like an additional videographer, an additional editor as well. So I would say if we can get like the foundation locked in by the end of the year, that would be a great goal for us.
That's awesome. And then where do you see the industry as a whole, where you're heading with real estate and what you're building out? How do you see that playing out in adding services and just for you to fulfill that? So where's the niche that you're serving? Where is that going? And then how are you going to serve that for future kind of looking into the future?
Yeah, I think like real estate in whole, I would say more on the investor side, because I know, for example, like the Airbnb side, it's exploding. People are starting to really dive into that niche. So I would say what I love about real estate is there's just so many possibilities. I mean, not only can you talk to realtors and firms, but you can also talk to real estate investors who are just super knowledgeable about the craft and who are creating courses, who are creating all these type of other services to help people get to their level. And I would say the same side for the mortgage, because you can't buy a piece of property without debt. So that's kind of where I see it. It's more on the side of a lot of content creators will be springing up. And
oh, you think so? You think more and more like the Ryan Pinedas of the world and those kind of things?
Yeah, definitely. No doubt in my mind. Or at least the people I speak to want to do that because they have so much experience and knowledge about the industry. It's just a no-brainer to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's there's tons of opportunities there, right? So I create a lot of content around dental, and every phone call, every event that I go to, every time I'm on a phone call, they're like, I see you in my feed every single day, Gary. And it's because we're just bulk cramming content down their throat every day. And it does help with the personal brand, and it does seem to be starting to create leads and opportunities for the agency. So we're kind of doubling down on that because no one else in dental is doing it. So it might as well be us,
Yeah. Are you doing just everything dental, or are you doing a specific service in dental, or?
Good question. So our agency brings in new patients for groups that want to grow. So predictable patient flow for groups. My personal brand, I don't talk about dental as much because when I do, nobody watches it. So it's super boring, right? But when I talk about entrepreneurship and marketing in general, it does pretty well. And so that's what we're kind of segmenting right now is like Gary Bird, the brand. I am creating content around entrepreneurship and agencies and stuff like that. And then which is applicable to the dental industry, right? A lot of our clients, they're trying to grow their enterprise as well, right? And then the SMC, the brand, I create podcasts that I do with that. And then that content is much more dental specific, but it goes on all the the SMC page and all the corporate brand, if you will, gets all that content.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure that out, like personal brand versus the corporate brand and how to like splice that up. Do you have any advice on that?
Well, I mean, you've been in the game for quite a bit, so I feel like seeing your content, you're kind of on the right path. But I think at the end of the day, everything is always going to be symbiotic. I think what you're doing now is great because, like you said, a lot of the people are saying, "Oh, I'm seeing you everywhere on the feed," which is what you want. That's kind of like the Grant Cardone
Yeah.
special. Just being you want to be mercurial, like you want to be everywhere. So I would say, just take that, what you're doing with your personal brand, apply that to your corporate brand as well. You just want to be everywhere. Just
Yeah.
because when you hear dental, you want to hear, SMC. So
Yeah. And it's interesting because the dental industry right now, the biggest trouble that they face is actually not new patients. There's actually more new patients than there are doctors right now. But the trouble they face is that they have a hiring crunch. So it's actually creating a backlog. So marketing isn't really like everybody's main focus right now, but I know that's going to change. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, but it's going to come full circle. And when that happens, my goal is to be etched in every single 200,000 dentist brain of at least giving us a shot at that business.
Exactly. You're going to be at the top of the mind.
That's the goal. So anything else that I didn't ask you that you think that the audience would be helpful? Keep in mind, a lot of our audience is brand new agency owners or very, very early on. And some of them haven't had the success that you had getting started. So any topics or any advice that you think that we should talk about that would be helpful to them?
Yeah. I get messages all the time, Instagram, Facebook, all the time asking for advice. And I think the top thing that I've learned so far is like, don't underestimate your warm network. And what I mean by that is your friends, your loved ones, your colleagues, boyfriend and girlfriend, relatives, those people that know you as a person. And the reason why I say that is because even though they may not need your service directly, they know people and they know thousands of other people that will need your service. And that's basically how I was able to book a lot of meetings right out the gate. And don't get me wrong, cold calling, that's awesome. I'm never going to be against cold calling and things like that, because that's basically the lifeblood of the business. But getting right out of the gate to really establish momentum and kind of prevent that doubt creeping into your mind of, man, I shouldn't have started this. Utilize your warm network. I'm telling you, it's probably one of the most overlooked aspects.
That's so true. Actually unknowingly built out a warm network to like really launch our agency. And I've done that like 2 or 3 times where it's like on purpose. I went out there, connected with the right people, built out a network, figured out how to get in front of the right people, grew the agency, and then did that over again. So that's huge. And I know you're talking more about that, just those people that you know every single day. I think you did a great job. I think the reason you had so much success so far and a lot of people are a lot slower is because you had a niche and you came from the vertical. So I didn't have a niche when I started, and I didn't have a vertical that I was coming from. So it was much slower. So bravo on that. I think those 2 things right there, if I was going to like pin it down to like, man, this is how you move fast, I would say those 2 things play a huge part in that.
Oh, thank you, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can people get a hold of you if they have questions about your agency or maybe even want to use your services?
Yeah, so I'm active on social media. So the main 3 platforms I'm on are YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok and Instagram is at official Michael Hudson. And then YouTube, you can just type in Michael Lewis Hudson and I should come up. And then you can also email me, michael@thehudsonmediagroup.com. And then same for the website, thehudsonmediagroup.com. You can feel free to schedule a demo call and we'll be able to help you out.
Awesome. Great job today. This 30 minutes flew by really, really fast, but I know it's going to be super useful to our audience. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.